MSNBC special coverage of fiscal cliff negotiations. And joining me now is Chris Frates, lobbying correspondent for the National Journal, who wrote about Vice President Joe Biden coming back into the picture. Good to see you, Chris. Good evening.
Hey, Chris. Good to be with you.
So descriptive. You described this process as a slow-motion car wreck. Do you think that Biden coming into the picture, and I don't know to what extent, maybe you have a good sense of that, is it helping things?
Well, you know, Chris, I thought it was a big move by Mitch McConnell, the Senate Republican leader, to almost call Joe Biden off the bench. You know, when I was talking to his office and his aides last week, they said, you know, the White House hasn't really allowed any lines of communication between the two men. And in that way, there was not a lot of back channel happening. And when things stalled out between Mitch McConnell and Harry Reid this afternoon, McConnell put the call into Biden, who those are the two closers for the Republican and Democratic parties. We saw it last summer during the debt ceiling debate. Those two guys were able to get a deal. And the fact that those guys are talking and that the tone that you have from all the interested parties, you know, Harry Reid went to the floor today and said, we're not there, but everybody's working in good faith. The Republican leader's been working in good faith. I think, you know, shows that there is some optimism that there still could be a last minute deal on taxes here. But it's still far from certain. And yet,
when we heard that Republicans took Social Security essentially off the table, that had to be a good sign.
Well, you know, it was interesting because Democrats, you know, hemmed and hawed over that. They said, we can't believe that in a scaled down deal, the Republicans would ask for any kind of Social Security reform. That was only a grand bargain deal, and that's not something we can do now. And a few hours later, the Republicans huddled and they all came out and said, okay, we could take that off the table. And that was a good sign, but they're still waiting for Democrats to counteroffer. And what's unclear to us right now is whether or not, you know, Harry Reid is going to do that counteroffer, or if that comes from Joe Biden. And in fact, just a few minutes ago, you know, Reid was asked how things were going, and he said, ask Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden. So there's an indication there of kind of how things are going.
Well, you wrote that Democrats are hesitant to put a deal on the Senate floor with no Republican backing because it just offers them a chance to score political points at a time when, frankly, public opinion does seem to be favoring the Democrats. So, I mean, Democrats really don't have an incentive to kind of waste a show of support for something that can't pass, right?
Well, that's exactly where Democrats are, and they feel like they want to get a deal with Republican backing if they can. But remember, on Friday, the president kind of put Republicans in a box. He said, look, either cut a deal in the Senate and push it through, or I'm going to ask Harry Reid to put my scaled-back plan on the Senate floor. And remember, that scaled-back plan has tax increases for everybody who makes over $250,000, which Republicans don't love at all. But I'll have Harry Reid put that on the floor, and you'll have to block it. And you will have to then take responsibility for not pushing it through. So Republicans are a little bit in a corner here, which is why I think McConnell exercised the Biden phone to the White House to try to see if he could work something out.
All right, so you guys are ordering in pizza tonight, lots of coffee. Yeah.
We're here for the duration, Chris. So we're watching and waiting, and we'll report it as soon as we know it to you guys.
Thank you, Chris Frates. We will look forward to that. And we will have much more as we cover the negotiations on Capitol Hill.